never seen. The Wrestling History Channel, time in the deep. Relive the battles, the Wrestling History Channel.
He's not a bad guy. He's not a good guy. He is the guy. Welcome to the History of Roman Reigns podcast right here on the Wrestling History Channel. I'm Steve. She's Issa. Put up your ones because we're celebrating the Tribal Chief here on the show. Issa, how you doing today?
I'm so excited. I love that you sent me notes, and I'm going through the notes for the show, and I'm like, I don't need notes.
I know.
Like, I remember all of this like it just happened, so I'm ready to talk about it.
That's the scariest part about this. When I started, compiling all these notes for all these episodes, some of it, I'm like, wow, it jumps out at me like it was just yesterday. And then you forget all about the Bloodline, and you forget about that whole run. It's crazy to think, but we will get to that. But today we're talking about SummerSlam 2015 to SummerSlam 2016, the Roman Reigns ride that year. Now, on our last episode, we did end on SummerSlam 2015, where it was Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, the Buds getting the beers, beating Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper. But the very next night after that SummerSlam, Braun Strowman makes his WWE debut. Now, secretly, he was a rosebud a couple times for Adam Rose and NXT. But it's so crazy to think that Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman will be attached at the hip in a few years, always having amazing matches, at least in my opinion.
One of the best feuds, too. Of Roman's pre-tribal chief is one of Roman's best feuds as well.
Yeah, and it's insane to think that Braun Strowman here does not look like the Braun Strowman years later, where he's all muscle and he has shaved head. Like, what did you think of Braun Strowman? Because I own a Braun Strowman hoodie.
Oh no, I knew that would eventually be brought back up into my life by you at some point. Yeah, I did. I wasn't a big fan. Like, Braun didn't look the way that he does now, and people just don't understand that because he was
chunky.
just, yeah, he was chunky. He moved slow. However, at this time, he looked intimidating in the Wyatt family. I'll give him that.
It was sad though, because you have now Bray Wyatt, you have Luke Harper, and Braun Strowman. No Eric Rowan because he's off doing his own thing where he's supposed to be a good guy, then he's super good at math, then he has a spider. A lot of weird stuff here.
We don't need to get into that.
All right, it's not the Eric Rowan podcast. Yeah, that's true. The next pay-per-view, though, is Night of Champions 2015. It's the Wyatt family, the new members, taking on Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and a mystery partner. And it turns out to be Chris Jericho.
Well, no, first it was a fan that jumped into the ring, remember?
Oh,
I'll
God.
never forget this because I thought that Bray had the best reaction to it while it was chaotic and security's trying to get this fan off the ring. But you can see Bray Wyatt going, "This your guy?" just pointing at the fan and laughing. That moment lives rent-free in my head because I'm like, Bray, you freaking troll.
Yeah, they didn't notice for a second, too, I remember. They were standing there. And
the guy was dressed in like Shield gear.
Yes!
He was like all in. He really was ready to be their partner. But no, it was indeed Chris Jericho. But Bray Wyatt going, look it up. If you guys are listening to this and you never saw that moment, just look it up. It's gotta be roaming somewhere on YouTube because Bray going, "That's your guy," and laughing just popped me so hard in such a chaotic situation.
It was so weird, too, because Chris Jericho wasn't around for a little while, too. So out of nowhere, he returned, and we were like, oh, it's a return. Oh, it's Chris Jericho. But he's in a 3-on-3 match? Does he have beef with the Wyatt family?
As we get into this, you'll see that Roman and the Shield boys, one set left, got paired with some odd choices.
I wonder why, though. Like, why Chris Jericho?
Everybody wanted to be part of the Shield.
That's really why?
Yes, that's my theory, and I'm sticking to it, Steve.
It was bizarre. It was so bizarre. But we are in the midst of one of my favorite storylines around this time. It's Anyone But You, Roman.
Oh, my God. Yes.
And Bray Wyatt has this great storyline. He even has a whole room dedicated to Anyone But Roman. A bunch of Roman Reigns pictures with the eyes missing.
Yes.
And it says, Anyone But You. Roman gets in the room, and he's frightened by all this.
You, Roman.
Now, this is definitely the creative team like trolling the internet with Anyone But You, because that's how the fans felt online. Like, anyone, we'll take anybody, Fandango right now, than Roman Reigns. Like, is it weird that when you hear Triple H always saying, oh, well, we don't listen to fans? No, we do listen to fans. No, we don't, but we do. Like, this is clearly listening to fans, giving them a storyline based off how they feel about him.
They have always listened to the fans. They always have. They just don't want. They're never gonna come out and straight up admit it. Even though sometimes he does. Yeah, you're right. It's kind of weird the way that he goes back and forth with whether they listen or not. But when you watch some of the booking decisions that they make, it's kind of clear that they do sometimes bend the knee for whatever's going on online, or they'll troll you. Because Anyone But You, Roman, was definitely a trolling. But nobody's gonna be able to pull that off better than Bray, and he did. The creepy Roman room. It was creepier than my Roman room.
Well, do yours have eyes though?
Yeah, all my Romans have eyes.
Just want to make sure. The lips removed?
No, they're all there.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Roman did a terrible job at selling being scared. It was literally how you said it.
Oh, pictures of me missing my eyes.
It's so weird to deal with the Bray Wyatt character because he was never really supernatural. He was never really spooky, but he was, you know what I mean? So I always felt like when you put it with an opponent like Roman, or there was other people that just didn't know how to sell the fact that they didn't know what the heck was going on. But Bray Wyatt and Roman is probably also one of, if not my favorite Roman Reigns story. Pre-Tribal Chief, probably my favorite.
Well, this is also the time where for 3 months straight, wrestlers would fight each other. They'd have like a pay-per-view match where, Bray Wyatt wins. The next one is Roman wins. And the next one is the
and the next one is Hell.
At the end.
Hell.
And then it's one of us wins, usually the good guy. We move on to somebody else. That's a lot of things that are happening in the WWE right now, and that kind of made pay-per-views
And if the feud
stale.
started at SummerSlam, you knew we were going to get some random Hell in a Cells. I would love to sit down and talk about these random Hell in a Cell matches that we had when Hell in a Cell was a pay-per-view, because there were so many matches that did not need to be inside the cell.
No.
Bray and Roman did need to be inside the cell by the point that they got to that.
Well, I also, sometimes I can't stand when, WWE forgets about history. Like just a little while ago, the Wyatt family and the Shield had this amazing moment in the ring, and they had those triple threat matches, Elimination Chamber. Like, I wonder why they never bring up things like that. Maybe they're trying to ignore. They were like, we want you to forget about Bray having this, or Roman having Seth and Dean with him. It always felt like erasing history. Wrestling fans are the people who remember everything. My wife is like, what did I ask you this morning? I'm like, I have no idea. And she'd be like, tell me who won every WrestleMania main event. I'm like, okay, let me start here. Like, that's the problem, I think, with WWE. They want us to forget, but we're never going to.
This day, and we'll get to that later, but when Roman makes his comeback in the SummerSlam 2021, he takes the Universal title. It was The Fiend who was holding it at the time, or, he was fighting Braun Strowman, and they never brought back that story. They never brought back the Bray and Roman had, like, crazy history. They just went like The Fiend and Roman, and of course the Tribal Chief was born from there, so they didn't want to go into details. Mm-hmm. But I was like, this goes way deeper than Roman came back and he's a badass now.
That's true. Hell in the Cell though, 2015, Roman Reigns does defeat Bray Wyatt.
Oh my god, it's such a good match. It's such a good match. I do go back and revisit this match. It was awesome. I really, really enjoyed it.
No, again, Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns, again, if you haven't watched these storylines, the Anyone But Roman storyline was a great indication that, wow, if we do voice our opinions online or podcast or make videos, that the WWE is watching you, they are acknowledging you and thinking, well, they like Roman, but they don't like Roman. Like, let's give them a storyline they can grab onto where they'll cheer in a way for Bray Wyatt because he is representing how some people online felt, especially in 2015. So I think it's a really good indication that, like, oh, if you complain enough, they do listen to you. They won't give you what you want, but they'll listen to you.
I was torn on this one because obviously it was two of my favorites. So I was obviously rooting for Roman. The answer is always Roman. People are always asking me, like, who would you pick if Roman's going against this? The answer is always going to be Roman. But in this case, Bray was up there too. So it was fun to watch. It was enjoyable. And the Hell in a Cell match is one that I go back and watch here and there.
Yeah. The next night, though, Roman Reigns wins a fatal four-way to become the new number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. So we are finally going to get that Roman Reigns Seth Rollins match.
Are we though?
So you thought. Because out of nowhere on Twitter, I remember seeing the video. Seth Rollins is injured. He has to vacate the World Championship. He was in a match with Kane, and he's on the top rope, and he flips over Kane to do just like a power bomb when his leg just completely folds. And he's out, hit with a knee injury. This is the beginning of Seth Rollins being injured.
there's a picture of Seth looking down, like sitting in the ring, and people are there. He finished the match like the legend that he is. But I remember seeing it at a very odd time too because they were overseas. So I remember this coming across my timeline, and we were a lot. The IWC was a lot smaller then. This is one of those injuries that I feel like you remember that moment when we were like, "Oh my God!" And especially because we were looking forward to the Seth and Roman match. In a way, I'm not glad that anything happened, but I'm happy that it didn't happen then. You know what I mean? Because it ended up paying off better. Well, we'll get into that. But yeah, I remember the Seth Rollins injury. Like, I know it's been 10 years, which is crazy, and we're dealing with that on current day, but it was one of those moments that everybody like started DMing each other like, "Oh my God, did you see this? What's gonna happen?" You know?
Well, they compared it to the video of Sid Justice when he jumped off the second rope in WCW and his leg just folds behind him like this.
Yeah.
When Rollins goes down, it's not he lands softly and he hurt.
No.
You see his entire ankle go sideways on his body. I can't get my finger go sideways.
He's picking up Kane, who's like twice the Seth
like
Rollins.
this is him. I landed like he went like that the wrong way.
I so appreciate the visuals.
Yeah, well, you have to. Next time I'll have more I'll have pictures. We'll have
but that video, I just remember that video, and I remember I remember feeling heartbroken for Seth because Seth was killing it. This isn't a Seth Rollins podcast. If you ever want to make one, I will gladly co-host that with you because that's another career I can talk about for days. But Seth was killing it. Seth was doing a great job. And as of right now, I say we start one of those charge.org petitions that we just don't send Seth overseas anymore. Thank you.
I love it. Every time he goes overseas, he seems to be injured. Or you know, that's true. Yeah, honestly, Seth Rollins has done so much. But for me, this is the Seth Rollins I love the most. Not the Messiah or the Visionary or all that shit and dressing up in weird outfits. Hey, I enjoyed that. But this is the Seth Rollins I fell in love with. This is the Seth Rollins when people, if in 20 years they have 5 pictures of what version of Seth Rollins do you think is the best? This, to me, is Seth Rollins at his best. A slimy heel, running away, using the authority.
He had to adjust his wrestling style as well when he came back. So if you were watching those matches, like that triple threat we talked about and all that, and every once in a while, he still busts out these moves, which is kind of cool now because now he only does it on special or matches that are super important. But back then, Seth was doing some amazing things in the ring just to do them, you know, just because he was that good. And you can see how much he's adjusted his wrestling style from these days to now. But this is when you start seeing a little bit of a change on his wrestling style.
Yeah, man. It was such a sad day because
it
was, again, the authority. As we get through this, I think the first episode, I was like, I hate the authority. The second episode, I was like, they were fine. But the third, I'm like, man, what a great heel faction that was. Like, I have... you keep changing because I love J&J Security, but I didn't like to sit there and be like, okay, I have to watch Corporate Kane wrestle a 15-minute match on Raw against so-and-so.
Right.
Like, I wasn't feeling that. I wasn't feeling Big Show in the group. I wasn't feeling these things. But I did feel Seth Rollins with J&J Security. I thought they were a nice group. But... yeah,
the
this
Cadillac,
is the beginning.
Segment with Brock is something that lives in my head rent-free forever.
Jesus. Throwing a damn door.
Hit the fan?
Yeah.
That fan still gets free tickets to this day. I made that up. I'm not sure, but
that's Green Shirt Guy, right? That's who it was? That's Green Shirt Guy?
Probably.
I thought so. No, that's not true. I know someone's going to DM me like, that's not true. You know I reported on this.
We're just kidding, guys. We have a dry sense of humor.
Yes. Sorry. So... Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. Survivor Series probably was going to happen. We don't get that. Instead, we get a World Championship tournament at Survivor Series. This is also the 25th anniversary of The Undertaker. So they're trying to do a lot of stuff here and doesn't all click much.
No, it doesn't all click. And remember that the IWC at this time was still on that anyone but you, Roman.
Yep.
And a lot of the IWC assumed that they were just going to rig the tournament and put the title on Roman finally because that's what they wanted to do. I was so happy.
Oh, no. See, I'm going to read off everyone in the tournament and we'll go through it for a second. But I was rooting, of course, for Dean Ambrose. And I think everybody was. Everybody was. That wasn't
Not everybody.
Anyone,
I wasn't.
Anyone but Roman. You're in the other camp. Everyone, anyone but please give me Roman. That's where you are. We were all in the, not me personally. I was a Dean Ambrose guy. I'm sorry. In
You were.
2015, I was a Dean Ambrose guy. So here's the tournament though. Roman Reigns defeats The Big Show in the first round. Cesaro beats Sheamus in the first round, which I'm not sure if that starts the best of 7. Alberto Del Rio defeats.
It does.
Okay.
No,
it
it doesn't. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
The best
Okay.
of 7 was later on.
Okay. Because Alberto Del Rio takes on Stardust. Cody Rhodes, people. Cody Rhodes are. Oh my lord.
I still refer to him as Stardust.
Very good. Del Rio beat Stardust. Kalisto took on Ryback. Kalisto beat him. Titus O'Neil took on Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens wins. Neville defeated King Barrett. Dolph Ziggler defeated The Miz, and Dean Ambrose defeated Tyler Breeze. By the way, if you don't know, Tyler Breeze recently was called up from NXT because they had an NXT show on the WWE Network, and it was what? Underground? Battleground? Either way, it was all about Tyler Breeze getting brought up, and then his first match he loses in the tournament for the world title.
Yeah, which for the record, at this time, everybody that came up from NXT had to feud with Dolph Ziggler first. It seemed to be like the initiation. Like, I know that's not what this podcast is about, but do you remember that era where they would come up and automatically get put against Dolph Ziggler for whatever reason?
Yeah, that was a phase. And then they were like, hey, Tyler Breeze looks like Dolph Ziggler. They should have a rivalry. They should be friends. I'm like, oh, God, no. Yeah. Not a great way to start off Tyler Breeze by putting him in the world title tournament. I remember this argument. I remember all the articles about this saying, why is Tyler Breeze in a world title tournament? He just got brought in when you have other wrestlers on your roster already on Raw and SmackDown. But
because they had to throw that thing together, and they tend to do this.
That's true, too. They're like, it doesn't matter. Ha ha, that guy with a cell phone.
It was a matter of getting that guy with the. It was a matter of getting to the next round.
Well,
at this point, I already knew what the finals were going to be.
Yeah, no shit. Everyone, I unfortunately did. On November 16th, though, on Raw, Roman Reigns beat Cesaro. Alberto Del Rio beat Kalisto. Kevin Owens defeated Neville. And Dean Ambrose defeated Dolph Ziggler. The semifinals take place at Survivor Series 2015, where Roman Reigns defeated Alberto Del Rio. He went to the finals to take on Dean Ambrose. And my God. Did the crowd want Dean Ambrose to win?
I didn't.
Did Twitter? I didn't say you. Were you in the crowd?
No, but I'm gonna stand my ground because everybody, we as wrestling fans tend to think, and I do this, and I know you do it too, tend to use the word we or everybody, when it's just like, no, not everybody. We take our own opinion and we just assume that that's how everybody else felt. Because I do it on my streams all the time, right? Like, in my opinion, everybody should think that Cody's a crappy champion, right? But he's not. But it's just a thing. Not everybody. Roman did have a fan base, okay? And we were rooting for Roman, and it got really emotional there when Dean and Roman were facing each other. It was cute. It was cute.
Cute. This is also the time then the internet decided to start making cartoons of Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose being lovers. If you remember,
there's fan fictions. I remember back on my live streams, there was some points that I would like find these very dark, far fan fictions and read them. I couldn't get very far.
Like in today's world, as we podcast right now, if you listen to 10 years, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, they give them like cute names, and they, you see online AI pretty much making them make out. But in 2015, they didn't have AI. So you have to get creative. And so people use
have to go on Tumblr and just make, and they will really write these stories out. And they will get wild.
Well, I remember the cartoons. It was like them hugging each other as anime characters, and like hearts coming out of their head. And
I might still have, and I had to go dig in my iCloud, because at this time, Snapchat used to have this filter that they would throw like this rose, and then the rose petals would fall with this like romantic song. And I'll never forget that when they were hugging at the end of the match, I threw that filter and I saved it and I sent that to everybody because I thought it would be funny. I might have even posted it, but that Twitter got taken down. But I remember this. I gotta find it. I might still have it saved somewhere.
Oh God, save us. Yeah, no, that was a big thing. If no one knows, like, this is a history show, this is a history channel, and I want you to know not just the match results, what was happening on the internet. And boy, did people have a good time with the
We were all
relationship.
reading it, whether it was just to be disturbed or some people probably enjoyed it. That's why they made it, right? But I'm not gonna tell you I didn't read a couple of them. I could never read the whole thing though. I could never get through the whole thing. I was like, what is this?
I only saw pictures. I wasn't reading the literature.
No, there's literature.
You were. Uh, well, Roman Reigns does defeat Dean Ambrose in this
Yes,
finals,
to
which
become the
nobody was
champ.
surprised, and that's fine. I guess sometimes the movie in the end, the good guy wins, and the good guy here
Roman
triumphs.
Reigns' very first World Heavyweight Championship win. Oh, it lasted 5 minutes and 15 seconds.
Yeah, Triple H congratulates Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns and spears Triple H, which at the time we did not know this was setting up WrestleMania. But then Sheamus runs down, cashes in his Money in the Bank, and beats Roman Reigns for the championship.
Oh my God. I was so mad, but it worked. It worked. It didn't work on me. I was mad, but at the end, in the long run, it ends up working.
Did it work for Sheamus?
It did work. When Roman finally beat Sheamus for that title, he got a pop in Philadelphia, the same city that booed him out of the building months before at the Royal Rumble.
I remember the arguments online was, well, everyone hates Sheamus in the League of Nations. So if they hate them and if they fight Roman, then you have to cheer Roman because you don't like the League of Nations. That was the argument online.
Okay, it wasn't a long-term solution, right? The way that I see it is the moment that they won it was created. Roman was cheered in Philadelphia when he finally beat Sheamus, which we'll get into it. It wasn't that much longer because he loses it immediately, right? But after that, nobody wanted him as champion because we're like, yay, we don't have Sheamus as champion. Then they realize, oh no, it's the guy we didn't want to be champion to begin with. And then the fans automatically turn around. But the moment that Roman finally gets the title off of Sheamus, he gets a pop in Philadelphia, which at that time, me watching, thought would be impossible to accomplish. But they did that.
Well, don't lump me with everybody because I don't remember everyone going like, this is the greatest moment ever. I just remember going, okay, well, they did exactly what I thought was going to happen. And that's,
you know what? There's also the online perception of something, and there's also the
reality.
I was there. I was in Philly, right? And there was another one that I always talk about, and it's like when Roman came out, we'll get into it later, number 30 at the Royal Rumble in 2017 in San Antonio, I was there, and there was a pop, and the online community hated it, right? I had the video when he came out. You can hear the fans cheering, but people were like, oh no, like everybody hated Roman. We could not, they didn't have the countdown. So people at the building didn't even realize he was number 30. We didn't realize that was the last one until like a little bit goes down. We were like, oh wait, Roman was the last one. So that's the whole thing. It's like if you watch, depends on which eyes you watch through, the narrative of how this story went for you might be completely different.
Oh yeah. Well, everyone has a different feeling about every wrestler. You know,
right.
If Roman Reigns is, you wouldn't make Roman Reigns world champion if you weren't actually selling merchandise or if you weren't actually selling.
Well, we'll make Roman
things
Reigns
of that nature
in any situation at any point, no matter what.
No matter what, of course, even as Joe. But no,
you miss me, Steve. You know you.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking right now. That's exactly what I'm thinking right now. No, but I do think like the idea of why is Roman Reigns always world champion or why is Roman Reigns always in my face? Well, there's got to be a reason why, because you're not seeing all the stats of women, children, even grown men, you know, so on and so forth. Like there's not just a group of people who hate someone. There's also a group of people who love someone. And there's a reason why, even on your television, why is so-and-so on TV? Why is this wrestler there? Well, there's something there that at the time Vince McMahon sees that maybe we don't. And guess what? He did it with John Cena for a decade where everyone gritted their teeth and said, I hate this. Well, then we all love him and respect him. Roman Reigns, we gritted our teeth. We said, not all of us. Some people were like, I hate this man. And then out of nowhere, poof, suddenly we love him. So
sadly, sometimes I don't know how to tell the story to get to the vision, but I do think Vince McMahon's vision has been pretty accurate when it comes to this guy's going to be big in this business.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that he can see that. Or it's the machine also helping out, maybe, possibly. But I think the theory, even online, we're going to bring up is League of Nations was a group nobody loved, everyone hated. And so they thought, again, I brought up, let's have him fight Roman so they'll cheer Roman because we can't figure out why people are booing him. because the boos are louder than the cheers, but there are cheers, but grown men are the ones screaming the boos. So in the audience at home, you're not booing your television. At least I hope you're not booing your television.
I have.
Wow. Well, TLC is up next, and Sheamus retains against Roman Reigns with help from the League of Nations.
Of course. The League of Nations made no sense. I hated them.
I was at this event in Boston, Massachusetts, in TLC 2015.
Oh my God, you had the Climb Faster sign?
I did. I
the
had
best sign ever.
Me and my friends got the best seats in the world, right across from the hard camera. These weren't given. This was not a media thing. This was a simple friends going to hang out and watch wrestling
together. And they were probably $200 or not even.
Oh yeah, super cheap.
Yeah, you could not sit there right now for under like $3,000.
Oh yeah, it was like 150 maybe, and you're like, wow, 450. This is so much money. Now it's not. That's like what you cost for the pretzel and the soda. But yet we sat there and held signs that said "Climb Faster" because any ladder match you see, people are like,
the worst.
It's the first time you've ever climbed up a ladder in your life. No, you've been in the match for 1 minute. You shouldn't be hurt already. But yet we held that sign up, but not realizing for a long time we were holding the sign wrong.
Upside down.
It said "Faster Climb" across the screen.
At one point you had to climb upside down, and I was like, these boys are drinking already.
We're just like, 100%. That's also the night I bumped into Mick Foley's daughter, and my buddy's like, you know who that is? I'm like, nope. And I just walked, and I didn't realize it. I was in the bag, folks. I was in the bag. But Roman Reigns, after Sheamus wins, beats up everyone and throws them through tables, including Triple H, who came down again, interrupting everything. They're setting up Triple H and Roman Reigns. But I remember being here, and my personal thoughts in the audience, the males, the guys were like, so Roman Reigns loses, but he's going to beat everybody up to, stay strong. Like, oh my God. I remember that. The online audience was just like, please give us, just get this over with. That's how I thought online felt, at least. You loved it, I bet.
I loved it, but at this point, we had no set, and nobody wanted Roman. And believe it or not, the guy gaining momentum was Dean.
Yes, he was. They had to even bring back Vince McMahon, who has been off television for a very long time. And he returns, and he's like, listen, Roman, like, you're a piece of shit. Everyone's online like, no, we know you're the one who says he's not a piece of shit.
That was the episode where he got arrested. Remember when the Brooklyn PD came to get him?
Oh, they have a T-shirt.
Yeah.
They have a Vince
McMahon.
I
love this. Oh, I love this. This trip down memory lane is fun.
It is fun, isn't it? Roman Reigns, though, that night, it's supposed to be Roman Reigns can get a championship match against Sheamus one more time, but Roman also has to put up his career. So if Roman Reigns loses, he has to retire forever.
Oh my God, imagine I would have stopped watching. Oh, Steve.
Hello. Yes, folks, Roman Reigns, his career stayed intact. He did win the match. He won the championship at Monday Night Raw, the one I didn't go to, the next night after TLC. And Vince McMahon is here challenging Roman Reigns. And I this is not fair to Roman Reigns, but anytime Vince McMahon challenges a babyface, everyone goes back to Austin. They're like, they're just trying to recreate Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon. Roman's going to be the anti-authority. He doesn't want to listen to the authority or Vince McMahon. What are your thoughts on that? Is it fair to Roman or any other wrestler to constantly be, anytime you fight Vince, they're obviously recreating Austin.
As somebody that didn't watch during that era, it doesn't mean anything to me, but I will get online and see the comparisons. And at that point, for me, giving it to you from a different perspective, it didn't make any sense because it's like, for your generation, because you have that nostalgia, you're going to compare, but there are people that have never seen Mr. McMahon feud with anybody, and Mr. McMahon is a character, and the new generation deserves to see him. So there's some of us that this is the first time we're getting to experience Mr. McMahon picking on your favorite, and you get online, and it's just like, people are just crapping all over, and it's like, I wish that people will see it from a different perspective, where it's like, Stone Cold was one of a kind, and that feud happened, and this is completely different, and other people deserve to see a different dynamic. That's my opinion on that, because I went through that, and people were like, "Oh, it's never gonna be as good." I know it's not, maybe not to you, but it's like, but it doesn't mean that we should never see Mr. McMahon on TV again, because at that time, before all the stuff came out, it was a treat, and he wasn't around like he was during the Stone Cold,
He's on
years.
every
So
show. Yeah.
when he would come out, it was a big deal, and it was just, for me, it's just like, some people have really not experienced Mr. McMahon, and I just don't think that you should go without experiencing, what a jerk he is.
That's a good point. No, I really do enjoy that you said that, because as I said before on the show, like, well, I'm describing what online was like. Online
Right.
was insanity towards the hate of Roman Reigns. This Vince McMahon thing, you bring it up, perfectly valid point, where maybe someone has never seen Vince McMahon fight anybody else. He has fought in Taker and Rock and Triple H and, Kane and Jericho. He's been in everyone's face, but maybe you are not privy to that. Maybe you have no idea that even happened before. So now you're seeing it for the
Right.
first time. It's like when someone writes a song, they're like, man, that was the best pop song ever. And they're like, well, actually, in
Right.
1987, you're like, well, yes, I do understand that point too, but maybe this is the best pop song now, not.
And like,
then.
even the comparison that you make, right? I know it's gonna sound super random, but I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, so I grew up on a different culture, different music, etc. Right?
Mm.
So believe it or not, my first exposure to the song "Smooth Criminal" was the Alien Ant Farm one. It wasn't the Michael Jackson one,
Wow.
right? But guess what? That's when I listened to it, and that's when I found Michael Jackson, and that's when I absolutely just loved everything that he did. Watch all the videos, etc., etc. So that's my point. It's like, you never even understand what maybe somebody that never seen it before was like, who is this Mr. McMahon? Went back, looked it up on the internet, and learned about the things that you fell in love with way back in the day, because everybody's different. Everybody's starting point with wrestling is different. Everybody's reason for falling in love with wrestling is different. I love that you use the song comparison, because when I started discovering English music, it's like when I had to go way back and start listening to things that most people my age in the States were like, wait, this is the first time you're listening to this? Yes, I grew up on Spanish TV, Spanish music, Spanish wrestling, so it's a great way to compare it that way, because that's what makes you go back and look up certain things and figure out certain things. A lot of the older wrestling that I know now is just because of me looking it up after watching the wrestling that I've been watching, for the last 12, 13 years and for.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. Like, I didn't watch everything in WCW. I didn't watch everything in ECW. But as years ago have gone on, I've gone back and probably did watch everything, because I was like, oh, let's find a torrent website and get these things before there was a WWE network and all that good stuff. The 2016 Royal Rumble, though, brings back a fond memory of the golden era, which I have a podcast with Shawn Mooney. We just actually talked about it, Royal Rumble 1992, where the World Championship was on the line in the 1992 Royal Rumble.
Stupid Triple H bullying Roman.
This time in 2016, they make Roman defend the WWE Championship inside the Royal Rumble.
And coming at number one.
Is the greatest. He's in number one. So if he gets tossed out, we're guaranteed a new world champion. And that made this Royal Rumble so spectacular. It brought back so many memories of
It was
fans.
a phenomenal Royal Rumble. Wink, wink.
Yes, that is a wink, wink. Yes, I do enjoy this Royal Rumble. And I actually think that this did help Roman Reigns a lot, because he starts off number one. So now fans who are like, I don't like him, they are seeing him, oh, he's going to work his ass off for the next hour in front of me. So that means he's trying harder than we thought he was trying before. As you brought up.
Please.
Oh, shit.
That's not what happened.
Okay. Well,
Roman wanted to make sure other people got their opportunity to shine in the Rumble. So he got beat up and he got taken back to be taken care of, so that, AJ Styles could have his moment. Well, no, AJ Styles did have his moment because the cameraman completely missed it and was on Roman's face the whole time. But the whole point that I'm trying to make is that at some point in the Rumble, the League of Nations beat up Roman and he gets taken out. And of course, a lot of people are thinking, oh my God, we're going to get a new champion. But that's not necessarily what happened, because Roman is such a brave man that he was like, no, I'm not going to stay in medical. I'm going to come back out and try to defend my championship after the Rumble was, an hour in.
of course. Can't have him work an hour.
But there is a debut of AJ Styles, which we'll go into because that's another great feud that Roman had. And I'll never forget the cameraman completely missing AJ Styles. Like we don't know the music, we don't know who's coming out, and the cameraman is there. And the only reason why it's a big deal is because you hear the pop, because the crowd in the arena is seeing the word phenomenal pop up on the screen. But the cameraman, if you were watching it live, is just stuck on Roman Reigns, and Roman is like, the same as us, because we don't know who's coming out. I will give him credit. He did make that face like, who the heck is this? I don't know this music. But yeah, they kind of botch AJ Styles' debut.
I was gonna say, can you guess who I am? He's doing this.
I still had that meme.
I don't know why
somewhere in
Roman's
my
doing
phone.
this. He's like,
I still have
if
that
I
meme.
squint, I'll know who it is.
That became a meme for a long time, that face.
Yeah. Then that was crazy how, and it's funny because there has to be like 8 cameras inside that arena.
Well, they
And-
posted it later on their YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, I remember they posted on
They
YouTube.
knew they screwed up.
They're like, oh shit, we totally ruined this amazing moment.
Well, they did the same thing with Edge, with the Edge comeback. Remember,
Oh
they
my
missed the
Lord.
first spear he hit, which was on AJ Styles. Look at that. But they immediately posted on YouTube, like, yeah, we know, we messed up, guys. Sorry.
Yeah. That Edge thing, they were like, we need to show more reactions of people. Get more reactions! And then
But,
that
yeah.
was the age of that.
I never gone back to watch this on the network. I wonder if they fixed it on the network. But if you're watching it, you know, on whatever you're using now to watch this, I still say the network. But I just remember hearing the crowd go crazy, and I was like, and then you can hear Michael Cole saying, "Could it be?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
wait. Now, off topic, but this is really funny. I was watching this Rumble with my mom, and my mom is what you would call a casual fan, right? And this is one of my very first times realizing how small the wrestling niche was at this time. Because I realized it was AJ Styles. I got up. I started screaming in my living room. You know how I am with my reactions. I go crazy. But then I turn around and I look at my mom sitting there bored going, but who is this? And I'm like, oh no. I was like, we have a long road ahead to get AJ for people, you know, like her to understand who he was. My mom was just like completely unfazed while I'm just like wanting to scream it out the windows, like AJ Styles in here. My mom is just like, well, who is that?
Again, you brought it up.
funny.
Some people online were like,
Yep.
yes, finally. And then probably people who have no idea who he is because they didn't watch TNA or New Japan were like, just like Roman. Who? Who?
I'm gonna post that meme today at some
Who's that?
point.
Who's that?
Roman's face.
Yeah. Wow. And I remember online people thinking that they did it on purpose. They're like, well, let's ruin AJ Styles immediately
Oh
when they
my
see him.
god.
But that's the beginning of Michael Cole because he would do it all the time. You'd hear someone's music. It's like Batista's music. We know it's Batista's music, but you haven't physically seen him yet. So he'd always like, could it be? Is it him? And he would say that for everyone for years because he's like, well, if I physically don't see them, I can't say that there's John Cena, there's Undertaker, there's Batista. So he would always shout that shit. And that became something in my brain that I'll never forget. Like, is it him?
Michael Cole says
Could
this
it
couldn't
be?
be. It's like you said, he's bent down still, but the word phenomenal is plastered across the freaking big screen that he can see from his point of view. It's like, yes, Michael Cole say it, but at least he didn't say it, so he doesn't fully ruin it for you. But anyways, AJ Styles goes on to get eliminated by Kevin Owens, which I thought was genius at the time. And when that happens, Roman is backstage because he was hurt by the League of Nations.
Yeah, well, maybe they didn't want him to work for a full hour, so they were like,
Good.
Let's get him out
They
of the
should
ring.
protect him. He had surgery.
What, like 2 years ago?
I still.
What? When was that? 24?
Sometimes I feel like I can defend him, and sometimes I can tell when I'm being ridiculous. This was ridiculous. The
What do
only
you-
person that got over in this Rumble was Dean Ambrose.
Yeah. So everyone thinks Dean Ambrose is gonna win the Royal Rumble. Turns out he doesn't win the Royal Rumble. Triple H, who hasn't been active in forever, ends up
my
showing
God.
up looking jacked. Like he
At
looked
30,
like all he's been
at
doing.
30.
He's
That
like,
was a fun number 30. This was a fun Rumble. This was a
I
fun
didn't say it
Rumble.
wasn't a fun Rumble.
Yeah.
But Triple H wins the match and becomes world champion in
Celebrates with
2016.
Vince and Stephanie in the middle of the ring. He
Mm,
eliminates
so
Dean
sad.
last, right? Or was it Roman?
I believe it was both men were tossed
Yeah, they were
out.
the last two, but I think it might have been Dean because I remember at the point that Roman gets eliminated, the huge pop where everybody realizes that we're gonna get a new champion. So I do remember. I think it might have been Dean who went out last.
Yeah, well, either way, Triple H looks amazing. And
Yeah, he does.
And that's what's crazy too. You think about like, okay, so everyone else is working. This is when you have house shows on the weekends. You have multiple shows throughout the week. And Triple H is just at the gym, like, I'm gonna look so much better.
Him
than
and
Roman.
Stephanie were posting those midnight workout videos. Remember?
Oh my God, you're right.
They had like that trainer that would go to their house at like midnight to train them because when do they have time? Really, like. I give respect to all of these guys because with the travel, especially at this time, the traveling that they were doing, all the TV shows that they were doing, so to still find the time, literally at midnight.
Well, Triple H looks like a god here, and Triple H is the world champion. I loved it, and the internet loved it because, again, anyone but Roman was still running rampant on the internet, if you don't know. So they didn't give a shit if it was Triple H or even Vince McMahon who became world champion. They were like, anyone but Roman. Anyone but Roman. It was fun. I honestly I really enjoyed it because that gave us one of the best triple threat matches of all time as well at Fastlane. It's Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar versus Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, amazing match. Amazing match. Man, I forgot about that match. You're absolutely right.
And Brock Lesnar does amazing in triple threats because last time was at Royal Rumble with Seth Rollins and John Cena, and that was just incredible.
The best.
Like, why do you think? Again, we're going to see more and more and more of obviously these matches, but like Brock and Roman are also connected at the hip with Dean Ambrose. Like, but no one seems to be complaining about this until years have gone by. Where like, well, Brock and Roman keep fighting. They keep fighting. Like, there's got to be a combo there that pisses people off. But why do you think people love it as well?
Because they put on good matches. It's like, how are you going to argue it? I mean, I would listen. I think. The WrestleMania 36, the second one in Dallas. Probably my least favorite match that Brock and Roman ever put up. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, even the New Orleans one, I feel like the crowd ruined that match. But like, it was bloody, it was messy, but I think they just put on good matches. And it's like, okay, you can only deny people or how they're shoving them down your throat. But when you're watching them in the ring and you're watching them work and they keep putting good matches against no matter who's in there with them. And this combination was just absolutely incredible with Dean Ambrose on there, who had all of the love from everybody. And here I am with Brock and Roman, who are two of my faves. They always keep putting them against each other to make me pick a side. I love that. I think they always put on great matches. And I think that whether you like them or not, at least you knew you were going to be entertained by whatever they were going to do in the ring.
Yeah, Dean Ambrose and Brock went to have a terrible WrestleMania match that year.
Come on now.
Terrible.
Getting ready for UFC.
Let's hold a chainsaw up, but then not use it. Liars. Remember that? When people were giving Dean Ambrose weapons.
It was one of them. I went to this WrestleMania in Dallas, and it was one of the matches that I was probably the most excited about, just because the build to it, the build to it was so good, and it ended up being a dud. And we're here to talk about Roman, but yeah, I agree with you. That was terrible. And then like a few months later, we find out Brock is going back to UFC. And for me, in my brain, I was like, this doesn't happen last minute. See, so if he was planned ahead of time, that's probably why WrestleMania went the way that it went. He wasn't going to afford getting hurt and miss out on that probably multiple $1 million paycheck for UFC.
Oh my God, yeah. And like, I know this isn't a Dean Ambrose podcast, but Roadblock is another WWE Network special. They didn't call it a pay-per-view.
Oh my God, he won special. That match.
And Dean Ambrose took on Triple H.
He won that match, remember? What was it, the argument that something was under the rope and it wasn't like a clean finish or whatever? Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
People wanted the rematch free. Some people thought at this point, even though they're setting something else up, especially after the triple threat, that Dean was going to get added to the main event. Remember? That was an argument being made for that because I think his arm was under the rope, so people were saying Triple H didn't win. It's what people were arguing.
Yep. And so people thought around this time that WrestleMania 32 was going to be saved by having Dean Ambrose inserted into the Triple H Roman Reigns match because just like before when Brock took on Roman at WrestleMania 31, Seth saved the day by coming in and cashing in and people consider that one of the greatest moments of all time. People thought Dean was going to be that scenario here where he would get added in, so he would kind of eat the pin or also be the guy who saves the match.
Unfortunately, if we were covering all of WWE in 2015, 2016, you will know that WrestleMania was cursed with injuries, and they had to put the people that they had in these matches just to make up for the people that weren't there. John Cena was injured. You had Seth Rollins was injured. I think like a lot of the plans went this way, which is why we had a Triple H title ring in the middle of nowhere. I don't know that was planned, and I don't think even if they wanted to put Dean on there, you're taking away a big match in the card because a lot of people are not available.
Yeah.
But I always wonder what was the plan for Seth, for Roman, and for Brock going into that WrestleMania if nobody was injured.
Wow, that's a lot because there's a lot of people out, like multiple injuries heading into this. And
Cena and Rollins alone, they were like such a huge deal with Cena in the 2015 United States Championship runs, etc. Rollins was the WWE Championship. I think that WrestleMania card would have been complete. That can be a whole show on its own. Like that WrestleMania card would have been completely different if the injury bug didn't hit.
Well, also, I think Daniel Bryan is hurt as well around this time, so he's also out, and CM Punk left a year and a half before that. So there's a lot of people missing for the first time in a long time at this WrestleMania. And 32, I'll listen, Roman Reigns and his WrestleMania main events, I think they get better as years go on.
Right.
But this match went on at midnight, if I remember, and Roman and Triple H went for like 32 minutes.
Too long.
And it's supposed to be this classic 27 minutes, 11 seconds. It's supposed to be this classic, bad guy beats up good guy, and good guy works through it and comes back and he wins the big fight. Nobody wanted to see that at midnight on a Sunday night. I'm sorry, I didn't say nobody. Some people didn't want to say that.
I wasn't. It's not that I was over it. When you're in the environment when nobody wants what you want, to the point that you're just like, I probably shouldn't cheer. I cheered, but I could tell everybody around me was really mad. It's a whole different. It killed the vibe. It killed the vibe of WrestleMania. I thought you set Roman up immediately for failure with the badass entrance that Triple H got when Roman just comes out to his basic boom, here's some pyro. That Triple H and Stephanie McMahon entrance was absolutely iconic. And I was like, man, who's supposed to be the good guy here? Like, I see that entrance, you want to root for Triple H. I was like, don't do him like that. But Triple H is known for his intricate WrestleMania entrances. He's not about to, not about to say, "I'll give me a basic entrance."
Yeah,
Roman can't get over. Yeah, no, Triple H is not doing that.
No.
He said, if I'm gonna put the guy over, if I'm gonna put the guy over, I'm at least gonna get the entrance. But I will say, Stephanie McMahon got spear, and I wanted to be her.
Didn't. I was like, here we are.
ADHD at its finest.
That's
Gave
true.
me my whole thoughts at once.
Yeah, there's a lot of thoughts there. Let's analyze a couple of them. One of them is definitely you wanting to be Stephanie. No, Stephanie McMahon was someone who was untouchable for a long time. Her slapping and getting fights with AJ Lee never set up an AJ Lee match. Her getting in the face of certain wrestlers finally led to her versus Brie Bella, which I was shocked that even happened. Like, there were moments where Stephanie McMahon would push people around but never get her comeuppance. It never was like she gets punched in the face. This finally happened where Roman Reigns did that, and it was a shocking moment because, again, it's like blood. We don't see this very often. So when we do see it, it's, wow, look at this. Like, we used to see an Attitude Era, like, all right, Bubba Ray Dudley's got a powerbomb Mae Young through a table. This is like, holy shit, a woman just got beaten up by a man.
In retrospect, the entrance aside and what I said about the entrance, I do feel like Triple H and Stephanie were working overtime this night to try to get Roman over. And the curse of the WrestleManias being too long, the curse of the Dean and Brock match being a dud. I'm sorry, a lot of the people were there to see that match. The way they set it up, there were high expectations from it. You think of WrestleMania 32, I was there. The only thing that comes to my head immediately is the women's match. And that's crazy. And Bray's entrance, because he had that brief segment with The Rock, but I just remember the entire stadium lighting up in the fireflies, and it was just incredible to see. But those are the two things that go over WrestleMania in Dallas, which was supposed to be the biggest ever, 100,000 people plus there, allegedly. So, it's crazy. But if you watch the match back, don't do it. You will see that Stephanie and Triple H really in the match were working overtime because they knew this was supposed to be Roman's moment. It wasn't. It didn't go as planned. But he did win.
He did win. He became the world champion, world heavyweight champion. And, you bring up moments. You know what happened before the Roman Reigns Triple H match?
What?
The Rock surprisingly shows
Oh
up
yeah.
and beats Eric Rowan in 6 seconds.
6 seconds. Yeah.
So you already, and again, as I mentioned, you are going on at midnight. I remember this, very tired, sitting there watching this with my friends. Like, oh,
I called you from the parking lot. You were podcasting live.
we were podcasting. The things that happened on this card: Zack Ryder wins the IC title in Matt Cardona in a ladder match. Chris Jericho defeated AJ Styles. The League of Nations won their match, but then Shawn Michaels, who's suddenly in ring gear, Mick Foley show up, somebody else, and they beat up the League of
It
Nations.
was Stone Cold. One of, like, for my short time seeing wrestling live, one of the loudest pops I've ever heard. That has changed after that, but at that point of me going to events live, that Stone Cold pop in Texas was like nothing I ever heard before.
And Steve Austin gave Xavier Woods a Stone Cold Stunner and injured himself in the process. So Steve Austin hurt himself on one move. You got to stretch. You gotta loosen up. You gotta loosen up a little bit. But Charlotte Flair defeated Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks in the inaugural Women's Championship match. Outstanding. Shane McMahon jumped off a Hell in the Cell. Baron Corbin won.
Oh my God, that was amazing.
Royal.
That was amazing. But see, I forgot. It doesn't, like, the Undertaker and Shane McMahon doesn't come to which was a good match. I don't know. When I think Shane WrestleMania matches, I go to the AJ Styles one. Oh
well, we can do a Shane McMahon podcast if you want, because that storyline made no sense.
No,
Undertaker and Vince
nobody
McMahon.
needs to talk about.
All right, I just want to let you know.
We're not good enough for that.
Don't throw it out there if you don't want to take that shit and eat it. Though the next time on Raw, we have been to Raws after WrestleManias, and the crowd is on fire usually, and they boo the good guys, they cheer the bad guys, and this night is the night we hear the phrase, as I brought it up in the beginning, I'm not a bad guy, I'm not a good guy, I'm the guy. And everyone, they wouldn't let him speak. Roman Reigns tries to speak for 15 minutes, and the crowd just boos every time he puts a microphone close to his face. Well, when he says that one line,
until we get to the next WrestleMania,
they booed him. Oh God, and they booed him again. But this is also around the time Seth Rollins becomes, he wants to become, Dean Ambrose is the dude, and Seth Rollins is going to be like the face, and Roman Reigns is going to be the guy. There's so much happening. But we do get Payback, May 1st, start of the AJ Styles Roman Reigns rivalry.
Yeah, the night after WrestleMania, AJ Styles wins a fatal 4-way to become the #1 contender, which made absolutely no sense because he lost at WrestleMania.
Yeah, there's a lot of making no sense. A lot of making no sense. But AJ Styles has been here for a little while. Roman Reigns is still kind of confused on who he is. But we get back-to-back AJ Styles Roman Reigns matches at Payback and Extreme Rules. And this, I'll be honest, this is where I was like, I became a fan of Roman Reigns. I was no longer in the company of anyone but Roman. I was like, damn, these two matches back-to-back were outstanding. They were perfect, phenomenal. If you want to throw that pun.
Great.
Do you think? Yeah, I know you were a fan of Roman, but if you were someone outside the bubble seeing these matches, what would you think? Because the Usos suddenly, we've never seen the Usos and Roman involved with each other. Now the Usos are here saving Roman because why? Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows are also here.
They called themselves the Bloodline back then, and nobody caught on to that. But even in this year, they were already calling this faction the Bloodline. But people seem to forget about that. I love these matches. I thought they were great, and AJ Styles is gonna put on a good match with a freaking whatever. But you weren't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you insulting Roman?
You weren't expecting it from Roman. But that's when, for me, I was all in. I always liked AJ Styles and I always liked Roman. But this was also one that I was watching with my mom, and I brought her up during the Rumble, and I remember saying, "Oh, this guy's really good, huh?" And I'm like, "I've been trying to tell you." And this is when my mom got on board on the AJ Styles train as a WWE casual fan.
Wow. Well, she must have been impressed with AJ Styles. He does his patented elbow, but from the top rope to the outside onto Roman Reigns, who's on a table.
Yep.
He murdered him, that Extreme Rules that night.
Did. I was there. That was in Newark.
Wow. But they did add in Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, so they're acknowledging the Bullet Club is a thing. So they're bringing up, if you don't know who AJ Styles is, newer fans, but older fans, you know who these other guys are. You know that they're all friends and they do this two thing. Remember that? And people are getting excited. But Extreme Rules, the man who's been out with an injury for a long time, now returns. Seth Rollins returns after, and he attacks Roman Reigns, gives him the pedigree, and we are off to the races with a Seth
To
Rollins
the
Roman Reigns
biggest pop,
storyline.
and he's supposed to be a heel. Imagine.
Well, we don't get to
that.
that part yet. We have no idea who he is yet.
No, we don't. But he's got, and the best part is like, and I know we'll get to that, but the shirt, because he had the new shirt. Of course, you know how they do these returns. The shirt says redesign, rebuild, reclaim, which to me is the biggest face thing you could do with somebody who had to go away from an injury. I was like, wait, what is he? You know, what is he? And I can see why he would attack Roman, right? You don't have to think he's a heel. He was supposed to wrestle Roman. Roman has his title. So yeah, you're absolutely right. At this point, you don't know what he is, but he got a massive pop because I'm the biggest Roman fan, but I also love me some Seth, and I remember screaming. Nobody was expecting it. There was no dirt sheets like there is now. It was a legit surprise, and being there for that was it was a great moment.
Yeah, that if you go online and look it up, that pedigree when Seth Rollins just shows up out of nowhere behind Roman and gives him a pedigree. It's not like you see him like sneaking up. It's like poof, he's there, pedigree, boom, he's going crazy. The crowd's going crazy. But around this time, there's a documentary that came out. It was all about Seth Rollins and his struggle with his injury. How he felt, missing WrestleMania, sitting up in the rafters, crying.
It was so sad.
He had to leave. He said, I couldn't stay there and watch it. I had to leave. I had to get out of here. So we are watching this documentary, and then Seth Rollins returns. So we have these combos of both. Roman's getting beat up by the guy. We just watched a documentary about fighting through an injury, crying at WrestleMania, wanting to return. Like, oh man, I feel so bad for this guy. I love him. I want to cheer for him. But we don't get that. We get the next night on Raw where we do this segment. I will say it. It's awful. Roman's in the ring. Rollins is up on the apron and he keeps tiptoeing closer to the ring and making fun of Roman and then being like, no, I'm not getting in the ring. Ha ha ha. And run back. And then he runs forward. Then he runs back. It was awful. I'll never forget the reviews of that episode of Raw being like, what are we doing? How do you take a guy everyone loves and sympathetic with about coming back from an injury, have him take on the guy that some people are iffy on, and then do this awful segment back to back? I'm sorry. This is a history show, but in history, this was terrible.
After seeing the documentary, you were just expecting Seth to open this show and just pour his heart out on the mic and I remember now at this point that shirt that I told you about was on the shop. So we are seeing redesign, rebuild, reclaim. I'm expecting that. Like what does that mean? What are you reclaiming? What are you doing? What are we redesigning? What's different? Tell us. No, that's not what we got at all.
No. I was shocked that Seth Rollins. I think maybe Vince was like, all right, we're going to pick up exactly where we were supposed to be with you as a bad guy, but now the authority really isn't in power anymore. Like, there's a lot of things lacking.
Seth has all the sympathy of the world because they put out the documentary.
There's no J&J security. You know, there's no Corporate Kane. There's no Big Show with him. Like, Seth Rollins did not come back as the same person.
Not at all.
And again,
not even the same hair. He didn't have any blonde anymore.
He's not the same person then. That's an imposter. That's an alien, I tell you. Stole his body. Yeah, but we do get Money in the Bank 2016. We're finally going to get Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. And going into this, everyone obviously was like, oh, well, obviously Roman Reigns is going to defeat Seth Rollins because Roman's the guy and he's the good. No. Seth Rollins regains the championship. He beats Roman Reigns, but earlier in the night, Dean Ambrose won the Money in the Bank briefcase, so he cashes in on Seth Rollins. And this is history. In one night, all three members of the Shield were world champion at one point. God damn. That's amazing.
When else can you make that happen? You can't. No, the things that the Shield have done, you know, we were talking about it, how people just don't give them their flowers as one of the greatest factions ever. That was incredible. And it was so funny because, fun fact, this is the night Demon Diva was born on Steve's podcast because I went on a rant and that's when you call me, you're not a blogger diva, you're a Demon Diva right now because I didn't know how to feel. And this is as a Roman Reigns fan, it's like I didn't want him to drop the belt. As a Seth Rollins fan, I'm like, well, if it's to Seth, I'm not mad. But I didn't like Dean. You know this. So I was like, but Dean? But like, so that part of me was angry, but the part of me that's witnessing history that liked them as the Shield, you're like, what we saw tonight, we might never see again. Like, that was the coolest freaking thing ever.
I know. How would you do that? I guess you only way to do that again is have a three-man faction and have
Yeah,
someone come in as world champion, lose to one of them, and then the other one wins the
but
money in
it
the
has to
bank
be
and
a
cashes in.
faction that's that over. It has to be the perfect timing, and all of these feelings have to be involved because of the Seth injury, the Seth turn on the Shield. Dean had all the love. Roman was kind of hated. Like it was one of those things that fell on their lap and was so perfect. I don't even think they even planned it. I just think they got into Money in the Bank and they were like, "Yo, we had the chance to do the coolest thing ever. Let's do it." I really do think that that's how that went.
Watching Unreal sometimes, and you see when someone's like, Jey Uso should win. Everyone's like, CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk. One person says Jey Uso. And then when you see this, like, I imagine, like, all right, well, Roman will beat Rollins. And then someone's like, well, what if Rollins beats Roman? And Vince's like, well, God damn it, we can't do that. Like, but what if then Dean Ambrose cashes in on Seth Rollins? Vince will be like, God damn it, it's like Roman never lost.
And remember, people are still angry about the injustice that thing went through with not only with Triple H, but the dud match at WrestleMania that everybody, of course, put it on Brock, as they should. I love Brock, but at this point, I don't give that. Brock did not try.
Oh, yeah.
And on top of that, they were in Las Vegas, which is Dean's, where he's built out of. That's where he resides. Like, it was so freaking perfect that as much as I wanted to hate it, the geeky me was like, every once in a while, you have to just put your fandom aside and go, man, that was really freaking cool. And like you said, I guarantee you, they were sitting down for that creative meeting, looking at Money in the Bank, going, wait, like that one person, like you said, wait, do you realize what we could do that night? It was cool. It was cool, man.
Now, here's another theory, which is, I think people might believe this one more. 2 days later, after Money in the Bank, Roman Reigns is suspended for 30 days for a wellness policy. Now, he's violating it. 2 days before that, Money in the Bank. Possibly, Roman Reigns and the Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose cash in was to, all right, well, if Roman's gone for 30 days, we got to have Seth and Dean do something that matters, World Championship. So we already know maybe days before this that Roman is going to be suspended. We can't cancel the pay-per-view match. We can't do this.
Right, of course.
So we're going to have Roman lose because he's gone for 30 days. We don't want our champion gone like that. Well, how do we put a babyface into a babyface position? Give Dean this championship for a little bit or whatever to fix the situation for a little while Roman comes back. What are your thoughts on that? Because it really seems obvious that they knew Roman Reigns violated that shit. And as a public traded company, they couldn't just lie about it. So they figured a way around it.
I like that theory, and I heard it on multiple occasions, and I believe it. I mean, there's some drug policy violations that we have heard that it's just people didn't even make the test, and if you don't make the test, they can still count it as a fail and suspend you, right? The whole point that I'm trying to make is that this is a couple of days kind of process, so I do believe that they knew, going into the pay-per-view, and yeah, this was the time where the part-time champion wasn't really that much of a thing. After Brock dropped it at WrestleMania 31, we had a champion present at all times, so I can see them trying to go into the situation, and Dean Ambrose being the panic button. They knew that Dean had all the fan support, but at this point, it's almost like, well, why not put it back on Seth? Seth was doing just fine as a champion, too. But this is coming from me, who love Roman and Seth, not necessarily Dean.
Makes sense. But yeah, I remember this policy coming out, and everyone was like,
it was a big deal. But they were popping on a lot of people at this time.
True. But what was the target of the internet was, we don't like Roman. Aha! We have ammo against you now. You aren't as goody two-shoe as you think you are. You violated that policy. You must not be a role model. I think that's what crazy people were thinking online.
If you dig deep into it, it wasn't even like steroids. It wasn't like illegal drugs. It was a prescribed medication that allegedly he didn't have the right prescription to. He wasn't the only person that got popped for that same thing.
He violated a policy. It's the law. Come on. That's like saying, well, I know. I didn't rob a bank. I just stole a Snickers bar. You still robbed.
I know a couple of people that been popped because they couldn't make it for the test on time. Like, it's crazy. They're very, and I like it. They should they should be very strict with that. But yeah, if they say, hey, you gotta be here at 2 p.m. for a drug test, you showed up at 2:05, it's a fail.
Damn. Well, Roman Reigns is gone for 30 days. But while this is going on, they have the draft, and Dean Ambrose, as the world champion, is
Wait,
drafted.
2016 SmackDown was lit. Okay.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
2016 is amazing. I'm about to do a whole podcast series on just 2016 soon. So it's coming out probably in January. I'll have it all together. But 2016 is going to be a 12 episode series on this year to really dive in on the storylines and how people really romanticize about this time. And so I will do a whole show about that soon. It's going to be exciting. But the draft, I was there and I was very excited for this, but they didn't really do much. Dean Ambrose is sent to SmackDown with the world title. So Rollins and Reigns are drafted to Raw. So we are still going to get Rollins and Reigns eventually. So Battleground, Roman Reigns is allowed to return from his violation. And this is when he has a new shirt as well. And Dean Ambrose defeats Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins for the WWE Championship in that match.
Should have been a WrestleMania main event.
Oh, yeah, it should have been, but it's July, so we got to fill it in with something. So we have Dean Ambrose beat Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Shield triple threat. Everyone was excited to see this. But when Roman comes out, he doesn't have a smile on his face. Like, people are ready to rip his head off because these angry people that Roman are so happy to see that he fell a little bit with that violation that they're like, yeah, come on out. We can boo you for real. We're not booing you because we don't like you. We're booing you because you violated that wellness policy.
Whatever.
That's what they're thinking. That's what they're thinking.
That way before. You were booing him that way before.
Maybe. So Roman Reigns, though, he starts a feud with Rusev after this. And so he can be left out of the World Championship picture. The Universal title is going to be birthed at SummerSlam.
He really felt punished at this time. I don't know if it was that violation or what, but he really fell down the cart for a couple of months here.
Yeah.
We didn't even get the SummerSlam match. I was there. I was so mad.
Yeah, it's very weird that we're rounding out the end of this podcast on how Roman Reigns is pushed out of the first ever Universal Championship match. You would think that, hey, it's Vince's guy. This is the guy.
No, he got beat by Finn Balor, night one.
Yeah, in a match to determine who would be the first ever Universal Champion. Finn Balor, fun fact, is the first ever Universal Champion, defeating Seth Rollins. How long was his reign, Issa?
Less than 24 hours. He relinquished the next night on Raw.
Yep. The buckle bomb, folks, into the barricade, took him out. So Roman Reigns.
At this SummerSlam, Roman was supposed to face Rusev.
And
let me tell you something. For somebody that pays a ticket to see Roman Reigns, believe it or not, people, you pay your ticket for a person, okay? I pay my ticket to see Roman. Now, I got a great SummerSlam. Don't get me wrong. I still have fun. But I did not get my Roman Reigns match because they just brawled and got out of there, and the match never happened.
I remember.
Ripped off. I felt ripped off.
Why do you think that match wasn't on the card?
I don't know. I don't know. That SummerSlam was also long. That SummerSlam went way too long. The Brooklyn crowd was stupid for this. They ruined the universe. I wanted to see Seth versus Finn for the longest time, and because the title was red, they ruined the whole match chanting dumb shit over. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on your channel, but they ruined the whole match chanting stupid stuff because they hated the design of the title instead of enjoying what we have Finn Balor and Seth Rollins for the first time. Like, oh, I was so mad that night. That was not my favorite SummerSlam. I still had fun, but my God, I wanted to punch everyone in that crowd.
Yeah, nobody liked the Kool-Aid red, championship. People weren't again. Oh yeah, there it is. Yep. And then they made a blue one because when it went to SmackDown, they were like, "Oh, well, I
was gonna buy all of the world championships that Roman has won, but because Cody won the Undisputed, I'm not buying it."
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Don't give them their money.
Actually, these were all gifted to me. I never bought one.
But okay. Well, and no one cares about your suffering. You also have broken the violation of the wellness policy here by getting free gifts. Though the segment that I want to talk about before this Rusev Roman Reigns SummerSlam situation was Rusev and Lana are celebrating in the ring with a cake. They're like, "Oh, we're getting married, cakes. Yeah, we love each other." Roman comes down and he mocks them. He proposes a toast as a friend, as an ally, and then shoves Rusev into the wedding cake. And also Lana gets cake on her as well. And I remember, again, as I bring up online, everyone was like, how is Roman Reigns the good guy? He just showed up. It wasn't like they called his name out. It wasn't like Rusev was like, fuck Roman. It was like Roman just showed up during the celebration to push them in cake.
First of all, you're forgetting the detail of Rusev and Lana's engagement picture accidentally leaking to TMC, where I believe they were gonna put them on a different storyline. Something was happening because I remember also being a lot of discourse that this whole thing was punishment for that getting out.
What do you think? Roman Reigns is the one leaking the photos to
No,
TMZ?
but like them going through the cake and having that, like it was a bit of what you would consider an embarrassing moment for them. You know what I mean? So, at the end of the day, I liked it. I thought it was funny.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'll never forget online just saying everyone's just saying like, how, because they always compare, how is Roman the good guy? He interrupted their celebration. They didn't call him out. He just showed up out of nowhere and was like, let's have a toast. And Rose is like, oh,
But
cool.
it's like you never shown out of nowhere at a party you weren't invited to.
The one, and then do you push someone into the cake?
I mean, if it happens.
So it has happened to you.
You
You haven't denied it. You're not denying yourself here.
No, I'm just saying. It's wrestling. Anything can happen.
All right. Well, anything happened here. You got screwed at SummerSlam 2016 by not getting the Roman Reigns Rusev match. And that's the end, folks.
I think they were doing that to push him into Hell in a Cell because they also had a random Hell in a Cell match.
Well, yeah, they have Hell in a Cell will be next month, I believe, if that's the case. But
that's when we met each other.
Oh, yes. So it's just funny that look at Roman Reigns' SummerSlams. 2015, it's Roman and Dean Ambrose versus Wyatt family. And then you flash forward a year later, Roman Reigns supposed to fight Rusev, and it doesn't happen. And But what a weird year for Roman Reigns. Becoming world champion finally in a tournament because Seth Rollins is hurt. Loses it in a Royal Rumble. Loses to Sheamus. Main events WrestleMania with Triple H, and fans are very happy about it. What a crazy year for Roman Reigns.
He lost the title 3 times, right? He
Yeah.
lost to Sheamus. Then he lost to Triple H, and then he lost it to Seth
Rollins.
That's a crazy year.
Wow. That's a whole year. Again, we've talked about it so far. This History of Roman Reigns podcast really is showing you that you couldn't escape Roman Reigns if you wanted to. And when something bad happened to him in real life, people were certainly happy. But soon coming up, when something really does bad happen to him in real life, nobody... Oh, I'm just kidding, because there are crazy people out there accuse his stance on leukemia about that, saying, oh, well, how do you film a movie if he's sick? And so we'll talk about that next time, because some people are insane, and we will get to that on next week's episode.
That might be a long episode, because we might go off the rails with that one, because I'll never forget that, ever.
Yeah.
What people were saying and doing. Stay tuned next week, because it's about to get interesting.
Yeah, that's a teaser for you, because the internet, we've talked about it for about an hour and a half here, about how the internet was reacting to Roman Reigns. Well, next episode, we'll talk about how they went way too far. And this is where social media, I believe, began its down spiral into just being a shitstorm of angry people mad at somebody that's not them. So we'll talk about that next week. But I think 2015 to 2016 is very interesting for Roman, being a company champion 3 times. The Shield finally gets their triple threat. Wellness policy being violated. Like, there's a lot here, and I'm so happy we talked about it here on the Roman Reigns podcast. Before we wrap this up, any final thoughts on this year?
No, I just feel like I said it last week, and we're staying with the consistency that Roman's career has always been this. A lot of people say, oh, he was being shoved down our throats like a John Cena. And I don't feel that way, because I feel like John Cena went like this and then stayed like this. And then we slowly decline. Where with Roman, it's always been an up and down, up and down, up and down. And talking about it and rewinding and discussing it with you has really it's proving to me that my theory of his career being so all over the place is true, because I never really sat down to chronologically take a look at it until now. So yeah, it's a lot of up and downs.
Yeah, about 4 episodes from now, it will be no ups and downs. It'll just be like this.
It's gonna be great.
It'll just be this, and we'll have a fun time talking about that. But thank you so much for tuning in, folks, talking about 2015 to 2016, the Roman Reigns podcast, right here on the Wrestling History Channel. I'm Steve. She's Isa. Have a wonderful day. And remember, when you wake up in the morning, always acknowledge your tribal chief. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.